Yeah, with the GRENKE Chess Classic, the second day, the second round. Again with Grandmaster Peter Leko commentating the games here for us. And well, as usual, kind of a tradition already that we're doing a recap of the day. And this year we started with our game of the day. And we have a position here on the board from the game Vachier-Lagrave against Anand. Could you tell us something, what's going on right here and what's going to happen next?
Yeah, basically I think this was the big clash of the day. Two great players. It was one of the games where no one really knew who is the favorite. And we saw a very interesting fight because Vichy surprised Maxim with the Paulsen. I mean, Vichy haven't really been using it for quite a while. And definitely Maxim did not expect this to happen. However, Vichy chose a very critical system according to current state of theory. So not for this game, but in general, Vachier-Lagrave had to be prepared with white. And he came very well prepared and played the move a3. The move itself looks quite innocent at first, but soon we will see the main idea. Black, of course, played bishop b7, developing the bishop. And here comes the point, bishop takes b5, sacrifice. I think this whole plan with a3 and bishop takes b5 is a novelty. However, I don't think that it really surprised Vichy, because I'm pretty sure that he was aware of this. I think the problem was that he did not expect this to happen, so he probably didn't pay enough attention to it. And he still reacted quite quickly with rook c8, which is the most logical move, because taking the bishop is way too dangerous. After a takes b5, knight takes b5, black faces real problems. There is no good way to move away the queen. So rook c8 protecting the queen was still played quite quickly, and after bishop a4, here Vichy started to think for a little bit, maybe more than half an hour, which was a clear indication that he did knew the novelty a3, bishop takes b5. He also knew that after rook c8, probably the computer was showing that black is fine. However, over the board, to navigate yourself without the actual knowledge of all these computer variations is extremely difficult. While we were commenting live the game, we were also wondering how to react with black. Finally, Vichy chose, I think, the best way, knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, bishop takes e4. And now white plays bishop f4. This is the problem. This pin is really annoying. Now it seems that black is in big trouble, but Anand spotted rightly that there is queen c4 move or queen a5, basically both lead to the same position, because white is forced to take bishop takes e5. If white would try to make use of this difference between queen a5 or queen c4 with bishop b3, then black has the very strong move knight d3 using the pin, and after rook takes d3, queen takes d3, black wins material. So white cannot play bishop b3. However, white played bishop takes e5, queen takes a4, and rook d2. I think this is the critical position, because Vachier-Lagrave probably knew that, and it was part of his preparation. Most probably he didn't really remember any more the details, but he knew that it's kind of a playable position and maybe black has to watch out. Objectively, probably black is fine. However, in a practical game, if you don't know exactly all the details, it's very, very difficult for black to navigate. Finally, the line Vichy chose was very logical, but he ended up in a slightly passive position, and afterwards maybe he didn't put up the best defense, but also Maxim played a very good game and slowly increased the pressure, and finally he converted his advantage convincingly.
Maybe a bit as a surprise perhaps, but okay, he's well rested, I think. I don't know when he played his last tournament, Vachier-Lagrave.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a little bit to speak about Vichy. It's I think it's quite typical that if he would have played his main opening like the Berlin, then it's very difficult to surprise Vichy because he knows everything. But he counted on the surprise element, and when your opponent then comes up with a counter surprise, it's very difficult to face over the board also psychologically. And it was in fact also a really dangerous test. So probably Vichy now regrets his choice, but okay, if it would have worked well, then we would have said it was a brilliant idea to play like this. Chess is a very tough game. Sometimes the surprise works well, sometimes it backfires.
It backfires, yeah. Okay, let's go to another game. Levon Aronian won a game today. I think he was quite happy that he won a game, I think.
Yeah, for sure, Levon needed this victory because I think now that he wins, I mean that he won this game, he can play much more quietly the rest of the tournament because after this result, only playing good games and also achieving result is the best medicine, is the only medicine that he needs and that can help him. So by winning quite confidently this game, right from the beginning, I felt that it went exactly according to plans, because Arkady went for the King's Indian, where Levon came up with this knight g2 rare line. Probably Arkady was not that familiar with all the finesses of this variation. Maybe he mixed up some move order, because afterwards it seemed to us with Jan commenting that after white managed to play knight b5 in the opening, after knight g8, suddenly that black was forced to play this b6 move. After that, white managed to get this a3 b4 in, cutting off the knight on a6, and black was doomed to passive play. So Arkady, true to his style, tried to get some dynamics in, but the position was not allowing it. And finally this even backfired, and he suffered a really painful loss. He's a great fighter, so I feel quite sad for him, because if there would have been some chance, he would have used it. But there was simply not much counterplay, and no play what he could really do in that position.
It's good for Levon that he played against a player who really wants to fight every game, and that he's up for a fight and for a good game. I think. Is it easier for Levon than to play against knights than somebody who, plays less attractive or less?
No, definitely it helps, because you automatically get much easier the chance. But the point is also that Levon is extremely good with the white pieces. He puts a lot of pressure, so normally in order to neutralize Levon, you have to be extremely precisely prepared with black. And Arkady is famous for being a great fighter, but he's not exactly famous to be extremely precise in the preparation, especially with black, because with white he always finds a way to put pressure against anyone. But with black he is willing to take risks, which work out very well against weaker opposition. But against Levon, if you give him a chance or you mix up some move order, it really will be very, very difficult. So a convincing victory for Levon, and he needed, and his fans needed, and probably now he will calm down, and we hope to see his best in the rest of the tournament.
Talking about preparation, I think Blueman was very well prepared in his game against Caruana and made a draw. It gave him a bit of a surprise for many people, I think. Blueman was well prepared, I think, with black.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and with black. Yeah, that's the point, because facing Fabiano Caruana is not an easy task, and it was also clear that Matthias didn't really know what to expect, e4 or d4, but his French preparation is already very famous. And the problem is that black has so many different setups in this French, so maybe before the game Fabiano had prepared against quite a lot of setups. But this move order and exactly this exact way how Matthias played came as a surprise to Fabiano, and over the board it was almost impossible, maybe impossible to pose any problems. I felt that this g4 idea was a very good practical try by Caruana. However, Matthias reacted very precisely. He had to make some accurate moves, be patient, but he did all that, and finally it liquidated to a completely equal endgame where White wanted to put pressure but was simply not able, and so the draw was absolutely logical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to the world champion. He won against Hou Yifan today with some Leko kind moves, I heard.
Well,
Rook D1, for example, there were quite some moves.
I think it was a great game by Magnus. It was a great game because maybe if you look from the beginning, you don't really see why was it so great, because he didn't really get anything out of the opening. But exactly because of this reason, it was a great game. He avoided theory. However, he managed to get a playable position with structures that he's familiar with. He also understood very well that black has no problems, but kept on posing some problems. I also felt that Hou Yifan did extremely well, because she felt the right moment that she needed this knight b6, bishop g4, because if there would have been just one more tempo for Magnus to stabilize the position with h3 move in this middle game phase, then black would be doomed to passivity. But with knight b6, bishop g4, black got counterplay, and white had to be very energetic to pose any problems. And there Magnus showed his class, this whole queen c1, bishop h6, which looked like a dangerous attack. In fact, as Magnus revealed after the game, his idea was to get into this endgame, because he understood very well that finally his attacking chances in this structure are not that great. However, with this activity, he kind of forces black, or invites black to this endgame, which might look completely innocent at first, but with this rook e1 to d1 move that he played, which I was praising so much, it was really impressive. And Hou Yifan did quite well, but finally the problem was that she spent too much time earlier in the game, and when the critical moment came that Magnus invaded with the rook to d6, then she played the automatic move rook e6, after which this rook d8 move was really unpleasant with 5 minutes on the clock. Practically speaking, maybe objectively it was still kind of holdable for black, but with little time, very, very difficult. And there, if she would have had, for example, 20 or maybe 30 minutes to figure out this rook a8, which feels right, but it simply sacrifices pawns. And if you don't see this final idea with knight h2 that we discussed in the live coverage afterwards in the commentary also together, then you just can't play rook a8. But maybe that was the moment. Afterwards, Magnus showed his class and converted the advantage in a very nice manner.
Yeah, nice win for Magnus Carlsen. Let's go to Mr. 100%, Mr. Vitiugov. Maybe a bit underestimated player, I think, by many. But he's really a good Russian player, I think.
Well, I think by many who don't know him, I know him, and I'm not underestimating him at all. No, he's a great player. He only has this big problem that in Russia there are way too many great players, so it's very difficult to get real invitations for big tournaments. But if we look at his results, that he has already won Gibraltar Open, he also, I think, a part of that shared 1 or 2 times and played the tiebreak there in Gibraltar. For first place, his nickname is Mr. Iceman there, and also winning last year the GRENKE Classic. It was a fantastic event. I was already here last year and had the honor to be following also the big fights in the open section. And the last round, or one of the critical rounds, he had to beat Fedoseev, who was leading to win the tournament. And if you beat Fedoseev, then you really deserve to win the Open. And I always like if such an Open is decided by such a top game, because normally there is always a risk in Open tournaments that you can win the tournament by maybe not with a good pairing or something, but Vitiugov did it in style by beating Fedoseev, so he definitely earned the spot, and I'm very happy for him that he got the chance and he's here. And so far in these first 2 games, he had proved absolutely that he's a fantastic player. Today he caught Georg Mayer a little bit in the opening, not by objective reasons, but normally Georg is very good at his systems, and he feels very confident when he gets his type of position and he knows what he is doing. But to surprise him in the French, I thought it's almost impossible, but Vitiugov managed. And the position was very original, very difficult to understand what is really going on, how to evaluate it. Finally, also, both players were not 100% sure what was going on. It was a huge question whom this endgame would favor. Finally, they reached this endgame. Georg was just in time to bring his bishop to b6 and with a6 create counterplay. And afterwards, they showed the game. It seemed like they both agreed that black was fine at some point, but just some miscalculation by Georg at some point with this knight c4 check turned out to be a decisive mistake. And okay, maybe if he finds some only moves, he could have been still in the game, but the game kind of proved that black was probably already lost, or at least in a very difficult situation. And Nikita showed very good technique and converted the advantage very convincingly. So he's now 2 out of 2.
2 out of 2, yeah. So it's going to be an exciting day tomorrow again, the last round in Karlsruhe. Then we move to Baden-Baden.
Somehow I have the feeling that here every day is just exciting. I mean,
so
yesterday also we were treated to fantastic games. Today we had a lot of decisive games, which actually for me is not the most important. For me, the quality of the games are the most important, and they are really of very high level. So it's a real pleasure to comment these games.
Okay, so we're looking forward to tomorrow, to some more fireworks.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Peter Leko.
Yeah, thank you as well.